Hello, this is Genevora's running commentary number 31. I've just run up this hill and I've got a beautiful view, so it's a great time to stop and have a chat about muscles. Now, the way that muscles contract is in more than one way. Now, when I first got my book of Netta anatomy drawings, beautiful drawings, I would sit and look at it for hours working out movement of various parts of the body, and especially in the larynx, based on the direction of the muscle fibres. But muscles don't always cause movement. So let's think about the most obvious muscle activity. Think of the biceps, all right? Now, when I contract my biceps, move my arm like this. So I'm actually moving those two ends closer together. So that is causing movement. But the tone of the muscle is quite wobbly. It's quite wobbly. It stays the same. It doesn't really bulk up, it's quite squishy. So that is isotonic activity. There's another type. If I keep my arm absolutely still, I can either have a floppy muscle or I can bulk it up so that it's hard. The length hasn't changed at all. Floppy, tense. All right, so that is an isometric activity. And the third type is eccentric activity. So if I start off with my arm like this, and imagine if I was pulling against something here, I can lengthen that muscle whilst it's engaged. Look, you can see it's bulked up, it's quite tense. So that is using that muscular activity to delay and slow that action against another force often. So we use eccentric muscular activity all the time in our body for stability, so that other muscles can do their job more easily. So running and walking, the difference between a bang and a bounce is those muscles working to create that stability. So how does this apply to singing? Well, let's think first of all breathing. When you are full of air, when you've inhaled, your body wants to push that air out. There's a lot of force wanting to push the air out. And we can't do that when we're speaking or singing. We don't want that sudden whoosh of air. So we pay it out slowly. And we do that by using the muscles of the intercostals and also the diaphragm to have a certain level of activity so that that air goes out more slowly. Now, of course, we don't feel it as activity. The most we feel is maybe a sense of buoyancy in the ribs, so that it's not whooshing out. The other place where we have this activity, of course, is in the larynx itself. And in the larynx itself, we have the cricothyroid muscle, which is primarily the pitch raising muscle. So as that contracts, this tips forward, the two cartilages close together at the front, the vocal folds lengthen, and the pitch goes up. But the pitch isn't going to happen at all unless the vocal folds have been brought together by other muscles. So the muscles, the thyroarytenoid muscle, which is the main bulk of the vocal fold itself, plus the little muscles around attached to the arytenoid cartilages, they all act together to bring the vocal folds together, to close them, so that when air passes through, it makes the sound. Now that closing action has to keep very varied, very responsive to the varying air pressure, to the varying pitch, to of course consonants and stops and starts in the sound, and voice qualities. So all of that variety is coordinated by this incredibly complex dance of the muscles all working together, and they all work together all of the time to create that. So in fact, at higher pitches, when the thyroarytenoid muscle is longer, it's still contracted, because if it wasn't contracted, you'd have a gap between the vocal folds. They'd be too flaccid. So you need that activity. So we've got this complicated dance going on. So the main message of this is, if somebody gives you a simple payout of one muscle working against another muscle, then it's probably not entirely true. A simple model, whether it's for the workings of the larynx or whether it's for the workings of the universe, is a useful way in, but it's probably not entirely true. I'm going to get back and run down the hill home.